Okay, I think we're here. I'm Kelly Coates Gilbert, and we are broadcasting live tonight from Dallas, Texas. And I have Ev Bishop, and you are broadcasting from
Paris, British Columbia, Canada. And
uh,
normally I would say our weather is completely different, but you poor people have been hit with weather that is like us lately. So I hope everybody's hanging in okay.
we have had weather whiplash. I mean, a week ago we had -0. Well, actually -2. It was, I think, the coldest it had ever been of record here in Dallas. And it was ice sheets outside where nobody could drive. We ended up with several families sleeping here because we never lost power, luckily. And we had guinea pigs in the bathtub and dogs and kids. And, and then it got beautiful. It was 85 degrees yesterday, and I was riding out on the patio. And then today, in case we have a little bit of flickering, we're getting a thunderstorm and lightning. So,
Oh man. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're all fine. And I would love to see a Kelly Coates Gilbert book that has a story about the guinea pigs in the bathtub one day.
all right. Well, we'll try to do that. Well, Ev and I, we met for the first time in St. Petersburg, Florida, a year ago. It was, well, almost a year and a half ago now, because we had to skip our conference this last year, but we were at a writers conference and we were at this lovely buffet. Now, let me paint the picture for you. We were on this resort by the beach with these gorgeous sunsets and gorgeous views, and all the authors who independently publish and a lot of traditionally published people all gathered to talk business. There's not so much writing and craft, but mainly business. And a lot of the vendors and people that we work with in our business attend as well. And BookBub, which some of you are members of, and if you're not, you need to get over there and be a member, and follow Ev and I. But they put on this buffet. Do you remember?
Oh yeah. The seafood. I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Shrimp and oh, it was amazing. And so we sat at the same table. We sat there with Tess Thompson and you and Judy Kime and Tammy. All of those girls went on. Yeah. And then these girls all got together and put together that Soul Sister Christmas project that they were on in December. So some of you have met Ev before because she was here with the Soul Sisters. Yeah. And that series, we were just talking just before we came on camera. Girls, that series has sold like crazy. You all have ordered that. Many of you have probably read it, but if you haven't, you need to go get your copies, whether it's Christmas time or not. They are such good stories. Oh my gosh. But that brings me to Ev, and I picked up her latest release last night. I was just telling her, we bought one of those beds that you can push the button in the front adjusts, and oh my gosh, I was reading and reading, and I just escaped into this wonderful story. Ev has the ability to take a woman who has been pulled out of her normal world, and in this particular book circumstance, she is on a journey of recovering from grief. She's 3 years post a very awful accident that took some people she loved, and she's been, just reeling from that and recuperating. And then Ev takes and puts her on this journey. And if you see that pretty background behind, that is the cover of Ev's new book. And I just can't wait. Tell them about this new book.
Yeah, so the book is called Something Old.
Mm-hmm.
And it kicks off a brand new series for me, which is called The Second Chance Shop. And that beautiful yellow building there with the little open sign, if you can see it over my shoulder, is a heritage house that, as you read the story, you'll understand how it plays into the plot. But it's going to be a 5-book series, starting with Something Old, which is the book Kelly was just saying such nice things about. Thank you. I'm so honored that you're enjoying it so much. It is a hard balance. I was really intimidated at first, just because I really love to write happy books and to spread joy, but I'm really interested in the things that because we're all human, we all have hard things in life. It's kind of that rub of human existence, that with all the extreme beauty and joy and wonder that there are those really hard things. And when I look at things that other people have survived, that has really helped me in my life get through some things that I've found really difficult. And all that said, I'm like, those are heavy things. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to dump this heavy, hard book on people. And I was feeling really kind of intimidated by the subject matter. And then it was like the main character, Madeline, whom you've met now.
Mhm.
It was like she spoke audibly in my head. And she said, my story is not about loss.
That's
My
right.
story is about life, and it's about love in all of
No.
the facets. And so with that, I went on and I wrote the book, and I'm really honored that you think I'm pulling it off. So
Yeah.
thank
It hit all the emotions. You know, as the book opens, she's already come out of that hard time. The hard time is behind her, and the worst of it is behind her. But now she's on that place where, what now?
That's
What now? And you take Madeline through this beautiful series of events where her what now is so heartwarming and so wonderful. And it's at that point that I'm going to tell you just a little bit about Ev Bishop. I started this chat a little differently because just I'm so enamored with her new release. But I want to tell you that Ev Bishop is a USA Today bestselling author. She's best known. Oh yeah, she's best known for her binge-worthy small town contemporary series. And this Something Old is the first, like she said, in her Second Chance Shop series. And you're at the perfect place to start because this is book one of the new series. Her other series, though, has hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews. It's called The River's Sigh, and I'll tell you something. I'm going to go pick it up. I'm already enamored with your writing, but you know what it reminded me of? It reminds me of Robin Carr's Virgin River series, which is one of my all-time favorites.
I get that a lot, and
Oh my gosh!
every time I'm always like, "Are you kidding me? Thank you."
Yep, I saw that. I could tell, you know, because I always go through and read some of the reviews, and I could tell that other people were seeing that too. So for those of you who have loved that series, and you're so sorry because you know it's got 20 some books and you want more, well, let me just recommend Ev's series. Her River's Sigh. And so when you go to her, you're going to have to go to her website tonight after this and check that out. Let me tell you about some of the things her readers say in her reviews. Her books are full of humor, love, and wisdom.
Aw,
And that perfectly describes this new book.
thank you.
She writes breathtaking scenery. And her books portray the power of love in the best possible way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's your readers. That's your readers. They love you, Ev.
Aw.
So tell me about how you became a writer.
I'll tell you about that in 1 second. Just to go back to the thing about Riverside B&B. If Riverside B&B does sound like it's your kind of cup of tea, I have exciting news, but book one in the series is free right now across all vendors. So yeah, so wherever you love to buy books, if you want to check out, it's Wedding Bands by Ev Bishop, and you can check it out and Something Old at the same time if you want.
Well, I'm going to be downloading it. I'm going to be downloading it for sure.
Okay. Yeah, and as to how I became a writer, well, I'm one of those, some people come to writing a little bit later in life and they have these exciting, like, oh, you know, I did this and this and I was a brain surgeon and then I decided I wanted to change. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm one of those like weird kids that wanted to be a writer long before I could even actually print words or make legible cursive. I would fill pages and pages with these swooping loops that I thought were handwriting, and they would be my stories. And so I've wanted to do it for a really long time. Yeah.
You were meant to be.
Well, I've always enjoyed it, yeah. And then one time when I was in grade 2, I wrote a slightly scandalous story. I didn't know it was scandalous at the time, about a little monkey that farted on a train. And we were supposed to read them aloud and the whole class just went crazy with laughter. And my teacher, who was very strict, I was in a very strict Christian school, and Miss Pikema, and she was a very large Dutch woman with a very thick accent, and she, Eveline, and pointed to so I had never been in trouble before in school, so I went to the hallway and she told me that it actually was a very good story, but there were some things that were appropriate for school and some things that weren't. But all I could think of is everybody laughed at my story. I was hooked.
Are you a person who reads her reviews?
I go back and forth. It's so funny. No one likes negative reviews, and I'm the same that way. But sometimes I do tend to read them, but like I don't go compulsively and read them every day. I like to hear what people like about them because I would love to be able to give people the same experience.
Yeah.
I like to try to learn if they're often negative reviews are more just that a book isn't a person's cup of tea, and they're for the readers. They're not for the writers anyways. So I always try to remember that. But I have been so touched by some of the nice things people say. So
No. Readers are the joy of this
oh,
business. I mean,
totally.
I don't know an author who doesn't agree with me there that that was a surprising element to me.
Yeah,
I didn't realize how much I was going to enjoy my readers.
yeah, I've had times because we all have times in our lives that are difficult. And it's so funny how sometimes I'll open my email and it's like a reader will be the person who
Mhm.
just sends an impromptu note that really lifts me up or encourages me, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I've made some really most readers I'll never get to see or know, but I appreciate them so much. And I've also made some friends now with readers over the years that have come along with every book. And I love when readers contact me and I'll always respond back. So yeah.
Well, and that's one of the fun things about She's Reading. We've been posting these live author chats. It just is such a fun opportunity because authors do things so differently. So are you a pantser or a plotter?
Oh, I always want to be a plotter, but I'm totally a pantser.
Me too. So do you have these horrible rewrites at the end, or do you kind of,
Yes.
you
And
do?
then I'm always like, so if you would plot your books, you could avoid this terrible rewrite. Lately, I should say that I'm kind of a combination pantser plotter. So sometimes I'll hit a wall in my pantsing and then I'll plot to the end of the book. And what I'm hoping to do for my next book is just write out the simplest, like a one line outline for each chapter.
Sure.
Just so that I don't end up with chapters that are things I really like, but maybe don't belong in that story, belong somewhere else, or go in on diversions and I'm like, oh, that's not what happened at all in this book. You need to cut all that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel it's a losing game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you write pretty strong romantic threads in your books, don't you?
Right now, yeah. So I would say that Riverside B&B and The Second Chance Shop too, they both are contemporary romance series. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell that cute picture with that couple walking away,
Yeah, and I wanted to have that just so people would know. They definitely have strong women's fiction elements, and that's something that readers always say, like, oh, like I love this book, it is romance, but if you like women's fiction, it has lots of, because I'm really interested in the friendships of women. There's almost always elements of family and siblings and
a strong character arc for your protagonist.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you've got a really strong character arc building in this new one. A woman who remakes herself and starts over and finds joy and happiness despite everything. And so I can see that that your books are absolutely the kind that readers of Debbie Maycumber, maybe Susan Mallory, and very similar to my own, and many of the authors that we bring on She's Reading, there's a genre that I like to call romantic women's fiction, and you're just perfect in that slot. So yeah. So tell me about how one of the things I find interesting is how people come up with their characters. Now, that's where I start. I cannot even begin a story until I've got the characters, and I get pictures and all kinds of things. I go through this elaborate thing. So how do you create your characters?
I'm completely the same in you in that for me, actually, I think it might have been maybe Stephen King that says character is story, which is funny because he's known for his very scary, exciting plots. But he writes really people that feel real. And those are always the books that I'm most drawn to. And one of the highest compliments that I've ever gotten, and that I am always so grateful because people give it to me, it's been more than one time where people say, oh, like your characters feel like friends. They feel like people I really know. And I once really early on in my career had someone come up to me and say, I just have to tell you, I was talking to my friend the other day and I was telling her about this thing that I was really worried about one of my other friends and what they were going through. And I was halfway through the story about and then realized I was talking about a character in your book, not a real person.
Oh,
and I was like over the moon with that because and so how I meet these characters or create them is more than it's very hard for me to describe even on my 14th novel, but like I said earlier, how I felt Madeline talk in my head, that is kind of how it is someone just kind of flashes into my mind and I have a little glimpse of them, almost like we would meet someone at a coffee shop and you think, oh, that person looks interesting. And then you meet a chance acquaintance. And then as I write the book, I get to know that person just the way you get to know a person as you spend time with them. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
something that I loved about
Tell me
Madeline.
why they're so authentic, because I noticed Madeline is a very three-dimensional character. You really do see all her sides, and nothing is stilted, nothing is forced, and that's probably why, because you're meeting and learning of her as your readers do.
Well, thank you very much. Something else I loved about her too is she's super young. She's 49. But that is, I really like, again, the books I love most and have for many, many years are books where people have full lives, regardless of what age they are. But all of the second chance shop women are in their late 40s or early 50s.
Oh.
And yeah, and so there is that starting over, like what is this next half of my life? Most of us around 50, we're asking ourselves that, and whatever part, whether it's in our careers, most of us, we may still have some children at home, but we're probably looking at them going out the door pretty soon if they haven't already empty nested. And so there's a lot of fodder there for the imagination and for stories. So
where do you come up with your names for your characters?
I don't know. I do have some names that I have a bit of a bent towards, and I have to be like, no, you've already written about a person like that. Often the names just occur to me. With this one, I met Madeline, and I've always loved that name. I used to one of my favorite stories when I was little was the Madeline series. Do you remember Madeline? All those little girls in a row, like I just loved everything. So I think I knew I always someday wanted, and then this character, just with her interests and her kind of quirky bents, she seemed like a good Madeline to me. And then the other characters' names, I had ideas for them, but I actually went a step further and I did kind of make sure that they would be popular names within that generation, because that's something that I really noticed. Like there are names that are old-fashioned names, and people get old-fashioned names in modern day times, but things have trends, and I'm always so fascinated. I have a little grandson named Hugh, which I think is the cutest name. Yeah. But it's a very old-fashioned name, but yet it's very on trend right now, and I would never have been, and so the 80s had names that were very popular, the 90s, and it just adds another layer, right? I think if you're reading about a book about like an Ashley was probably born in the 80s or early 90s, right? Like,
yeah, that was very popular. I did something that I had never, well, I can't say I've never done it because I actually have done it quite a bit. I will, for my secondary characters, actually the third layer ones where I don't think I would ever do this where, it's a character that really has a role in the story, because for a number of reasons, but when I have just those little walk-on characters, there's a storekeeper or there's somebody, I will pop a name in there of somebody I know, sometimes I won't tell them, and this last book, I got so many delighted emails because I took names of members that she's reading and I threw them in the book. And so Between Rains has so I'm always interested in names.
I would love to do that sometime. That's so cool to know that you've done that. Like, yeah, and that is a plan that I have one day, to have cameos of readers' names.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun. I've never really taken readers' names where I took both names, but I did this time. It's just really fun.
It's so fun. Did you just let it be a surprise, or did you ask people?
In fact, I kind of forgot. I did it, and then we write a book and it doesn't come out until it's edited and all that, and I'd kind of forgotten. And the minute it came out, I started getting emails, and so some of you here were the ones, and I just randomly just chose some names. It was just.
Do you ever look at the meanings of names to see if that would add another layer of the characters? Because I've done that.
That's really a neat idea.
Yeah. So if there's a
names. I'll tell you, most of mine, I have a little 3-ring, a little spiral, tiny little notebook that's right on my bed, on the table next to where I watch TV. Every time a movie comes up or anything and the end credits, I
Oh,
find the coolest names there.
that is
I'll stop the TV so I can write it down. But
great way to do it. Yeah.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
I've heard of reader or writers who just put like character A, character B, and I'm like, I could no. By the time I'm writing about a character, like they're a person, they're not a character A.
That's right. You know, and the funny thing is too, is that now readers, we're taught some little tricks of the trade. And one of the early tricks that, you know, every author is taught is do not have a lot of names starting with the same letter, because we're visual readers and we're reading fast and we really don't stop and look at the names. Well, I accidentally broke that in my upcoming Maui series. And I have an Ava and I have her best friend is Alani. And Alani and Ava, you know, one's short, one's long, so I think I'll get away with it, but they both started with A's. And I have a critique partner and we switch, you know, every morning we throw our new chapters to each other to take a look. Well, she immediately said, you know, you got 2 A's in here. And I went, oh, I do. And so I tried to rename her Candace.
And didn't stick.
She was Ava.
Yeah.
Because it was like changing the name of one of my children. I
Yeah.
could not do it. I had written enough of her. She was Ava, and there was nothing I could do to change it. So I'm going to have to be more careful when I start, because I now know I can't change them.
Yeah.
That's right.
Again, it would be like saying, oh, well, you know, I already have a friend named such and such. Do you mind if I call you blah, blah, blah? And they're like, of course I mind.
Yeah. Well, I have started asking this question of authors because I find this fascinating as well. Which do you like writing better? First chapter or last chapter?
Oh, that is really hard. That's a great question.
No, isn't it?
I love the first chapter.
Me too.
I do think I love the first chapter best if I have to pick one, just because it's that thrill of the first meeting. And I hope that that's a thrill for the reader. But for me as the author, just that initial meeting a character and finding out what's going on in their life and stuff like that is so cool. Yeah. So I'm sorry, my phone is ringing in the background. Just ignore it.
Oh, no problem. You know, that's what I love about these chats. These are informal. You know, one of the things that I have a hard time with the last chapter is because I've written all these little fun little lines because I'm a pantser. So I've written all these cute little things and I have to at the end go, I have to make sure everything that I started, I wrap up.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And because if I don't, I hear about it, you know.
I do. And I do like writing the ending too, because there's that satisfaction in that result.
Yeah.
And something that's kind of fun lately, and my books are complete standalones and a person can jump in on any book in any of the series, and it'll be the same for the Second Chance Shop, that they can read them out of order if that's what people like to do. But something that I've noticed is in the Soul Sisters book, and then again with the Second Chance Shop, completely unintentionally, in my epilogue, I realized that my epilogue almost kicks off the beginning of the next story. Not in a way that would be unsatisfying for anybody. In fact, it totally makes sense in the story that it kind of ties up some of the main ends that you mentioned. But with tying up those main ends, it also opens up, oh, is this person going to be someone? And yes, that person is going to be someone down the line, right? So yeah, I do. That's what, do you find that about writing, is that every book, even though there are some things that you start to learn about yourself and you're like, oh, this is me in my process, there's still always new surprises, even to you as an author.
Yeah. And I evolve. I mean, I've been doing this 12 years now, so I don't write the same. Partly I wrote for traditional publishers, and I only wrote 2 books a year. And in order to release 2 books a year, I didn't write 2 books a year, because you always write 2 years ahead for traditional, or at least we used to. And so I had a year often to write a book, and I could make it long, and I had all kinds of opportunities to go back and change it and fix it. My readers would get really mad at me now if I'm waiting and making them wait a whole year. Yeah. So I put out 4 books a year now. And that means I don't have time to dilly-dally. I need to get busy and get it done. And so that's changed me as a writer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably if it wasn't that change, there would have been some other change because life is change, right? And as we
Yep.
grow and get older and have more life experiences and
Do you have any writing quirks? Like, for example, one of my friends told me that she really doesn't start writing until she takes a hot bath. She takes a hot bath every day and then she goes and writes. And if she skips her hot bath, she can't really write with it.
oh no, that is I definitely relate to the idea of having like sort of things that have become habit that then become, oh, like it just feels like if I don't do that, then my writing won't come as easily. I if once people know me, they'll know that every once in a while I'm pretending I'm going to quit drinking coffee because I'm a huge coffee hound. But really having a cup of coffee like that is like that kicks off my writing day for sure. Just
Yeah.
the smell of it, like it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you write first thing out of bed, or do you do some business, or do you know, how do you?
I tend to try to write first thing out of bed now. In fact, as I was telling you earlier, what's going to maybe be a new quirk of mine, which my husband was already laughing about, is I'm planning to write my next book in bed because I find when I first wake up, like my head is often full of story, like
Yeah.
and then if I don't like get out of bed, walk my dogs, make coffee, get to my office, check my like it's so easy to have all those really fresh story
Right
ideas.
brain. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking that I'm going to try that. And I've been having, like most authors, there's constant, like, how do I balance the work I need to do with not repetitive motion that's killing my body? So I do think that that sitting position with my bed will be really nice for my first draft. And then I'll do my business stuff later in the day. I used to be a huge night owl. And when my children were small, I would do all of our family stuff and blah, 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 and spend time with my husband. And then he would go to bed and the kids would already be in bed. And then I would work until 2 or 3 in the morning. And I would have happily worked longer, except that I knew that morning would come.
Yep. Yeah.
But one of my new jokes is now I'm not really a morning person or a night person. So we'll say I will write in the mornings, but for morning for me is about 9 or 10.
Yeah. I'm finding I'm a news junkie, and one of the things I have to be careful of, if I get up early and I
See,
get my coffee and stuff and I turn the news on, I'm done. I mean, I really find that I then don't get started writing until 11:30. And so I keep the news off best I can. That's my little quirk.
well,
I
and
get
that's when I'm writing, I find that it is a day killer if I go online, even to happy, nice places. And thankfully, people have like yours is a great group to visit. Soul Sisters Book Chat. I've benefited so much from that happy little group this past year of being shut in. But it's so easy to go online and with the best of intentions to only go on for a few minutes and then get into your story. But the weight of the world and just the interruption and all of the news is really easy to pull you off of your beat. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I take 2 or 3 days off of writing, it's hard to plug back in.
Totally. I totally find the same thing. Yeah. So once I get into a book, I've actually taken a week or two off because I had this new release and I said, like, really, it's released on the 14th. I'm like, give yourself until the end of February, which feels like this huge, it was the perfect amount of time because now I'm really anxious to get back to writing. I feel like I've had a really good break. So, and then I will write every day.
Um, Here's another question that I've just started asking that I'm really always interested in. What novel influenced your own writing more than any other?
That's a very difficult question because I'm the kind of person and when then you're like, well, what's your all-time favorite novel? I'm like, I
Yeah.
have 400 million. But I would have to say that it is probably The Secret Garden by Frances Burnett.
Uh-huh.
Just because Harjins Burnett, however you say her name, which I normally know, but not when I'm just on live, I get all stuttery. I loved that story so much as a little girl, and I reread it and reread it and reread it. And it is funny because now as an adult, I look back and I do still see similarities. Like I'm someone that is really, I love nature and I love the outdoors and I definitely feel like a connection. I love to garden and plant things and I feel that they're really good for your soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, there's like that little bit of but it's not really magic. It's just the power of light. Like, yeah. And
Yeah.
I like secrets and mystery and romance. Yeah.
You know, yeah, and there's so many novels. I mean, a novelist, we're just an amalgamation of everything and all our experiences and everything
that's
we've
right.
read.
Yeah.
So, you know, but it's interesting to see. I like to understand what books influence, because sometimes even a book you didn't like can
Oh,
influence your writing. You know, the whole well, I will never. You know,
yeah.
there's a few of those, but I think. The Thornbirds for me was an amazing book. And what I loved about it was the unexpected. I loved the unexpected elements that just kept showing up on the page. And that's an old book from long ago. But and then I thought about the books that I love to read, and it's those unexpected elements that surprised me. I didn't see that coming, you know. And one of the things about when I was reading your book last night, I'm not going to spoil it for everyone, but there is an end of a chapter where I went, ah, I didn't see that coming. So girls, I really, really urge you to, first of all, go out and get that free book.
Yeah.
Because I mean, free, you know, and so if you've not read Ev Bishop, and I think a lot of you have, because you probably picked one of her Soul Sister Christmas books up, but I would just invite you, I would urge you to go get that free book and try it. But even more, this brand new book, if you are sick of winter, maybe you're still up somewhere in the snow and the gloom and the doom and this is an escape for you. It is money well spent. It is time well spent. And see that bright yellow house, those flowers, see that cute little kitty cat on the red bench.
Yeah.
That kind of gives you a flavor of the feeling that you're going to get. And if you want to escape, I'm just urging you to go try Ev's book.
Thank
So
you.
all of you have been here with us this evening, and some of you have joined us many times before, so you kind of know the drill. But we broadcast on Zoom, and we live connect that to Facebook, but that means we miss out on seeing any of your comments. But if you've been commenting tonight, we're going to go, as soon as we're done, we're going to go on that Facebook She's Reading page, and we will answer all of those comments. And then Ev has a giveaway tonight that she wants to tell you about.
Yes, I have something super fun. I found this little keychain and I was like, oh my goodness, the reader in me wants this so much. I'm like, oh, I bet other readers would also really like this. So it's a silver keychain with a circle, and it has like a little book charm on it, and then this little flat sort of a charm that says, read books, drink tea, be happy. And I'm like, that's a great way to end our night. And it's really good advice for life.
That is a good one. So if you guys have, if you've been here and you put any comment, and it doesn't matter if you put 10 or 1, it's an equal, you get one chance if you put any comment. So just comment in any manner and you're entered. And then Emma's going to go on. Yeah, Ev's going to go on and she'll just go down those comments. And I have a software program I use to do that. Authors have different ways to do it. So Ev will choose the winner. And then in the morning, sometime in the morning, she's going to post who the winner is. So you want to come back on and check. And then I would urge you, she has the cutest website. So go check it out. Tell them the address.
It's just my name. So Ev Bishop, EVBISHOP.com. Thank you.
And on there, you can sign up for her newsletter. And I get her newsletter, and they're always just like she is. It's just like getting a nice telephone call from a friend. And so I urge you to sign up for her website. Follow her on BookBub, follow her on Amazon, all the places. And then you'll find out when these next books are coming out. And I'm going to do something terribly rude. I forgot to get it. So if you'll hold just a minute.
I can't imagine Kelly ever being terribly rude. She's just lying.
Well, you know, it's kind of like exiting the party. But we're doing a membership drive right now for She's Reading. So for any of you who are inviting friends to join, and I get a notice at any time that you guys invite someone. And so, and this one isn't just a one, this is, you get an entry for every person you invite, because we're trying to hit 1,000. And when we hit 1,000 members, we're gonna do a drawing for this cute reading lap quilt.
Oh, it's so nice.
Do you remember the books Dick and Jane? Puff, and you know, run, Dick, run. And so a woman from my church made this, and she made aren't these cute? I almost kept it myself. And then it's small. It's not a big quilt. It's a lap.
Oh, but just a cozy with reading. Yeah.
Oh, and the inside.
Oh, that's so nice. Do authors get to enter? No, I'm just joking.
Yes. Becca's gonna be choosing. So we're trying to hit 1,000. And so whenever we do, that'll get auctioned off.
That is exciting.
Invite your friends because we have a good time here. You'll find that She's Reading is a little different than a lot of groups. We don't chatter or post reviews, that kind of thing. We really just do author chats. And yeah, I mean, we do author chats. That's what we do here. And then every once in a while, we'll have some kind of a special event or something, but we do author chats, and I love it. And thank you all for being such faithful attendees. And it's so fun. And Ev, thank you for being here with me tonight. I couldn't wait to get you on, and I'm glad our schedules finally kind of meshed. So
when you invited me, I was like, oh, because I love watching your author chats, and I've loved meeting you and getting to know you over the years. So thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
And I hope we get to go to NINC again, because we're definitely going to go to that, you know, that buffet. And
all the different kinds of shrimp.
And out at the Tiki Hut, they when we get done with all our conference all day, then we all gather out at the Tiki Hut, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is a Tiki Hut out on the beach. Yeah. And there is a drink that is kind of our signature drink at that conference. It's called an Almond Joyous.
Delicious.
It's like a milkshake. I mean, it really doesn't hardly have any alcohol in it. It's a milkshake. It's wonderful. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Me
All right, so again, thank you, Ev. And you stay warm up there in Canada.
And you guys stay hot, as you should be.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Make sure you comment. We're going to head over there in a minute and answer all your stuff. And good luck to all you guys in that cute giveaway. That'll be fun. All right.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Have a great day.
All right. Talk to you soon, everyone. Bye-bye.